The warm golden rays of the Atlanta sun spilled across the bustling streets of downtown as Marcus and Alana Johnson drove steadily toward their evening destination, a place that symbolized far more than just glass, steel, and mortar, for Sterling Plaza was not only one of the city's most prestigious commercial complexes but also the crown jewel in the growing empire they had spent nearly a decade building, a symbol of resilience, brilliance, and ownership in an arena where people like them were rarely given a chance, let alone control, and as their modest black SUV rolled to a stop near the gleaming front entrance, Marcus turned his head briefly toward his wife, his strong features softening with affection as he said, "Hard to believe sometimes that all this is ours, huh?" And Alana, graceful and composed even in the simplest sundress, gave a small smile that carried within it both pride and a touch of sadness, the pride born from how far they had come, the sadness from the many years they had been treated as outsiders even while working twice as hard as others, and she replied, "It feels like we've climbed a mountain, but somehow people will still try to push us back down," her words prophetic, though neither of them knew just how soon they would be tested. That very evening, for tonight was meant to be a celebration, a simple dinner date at the rooftop restaurant that sat perched like a crown atop the plaza, a chance to breathe and enjoy life away from endless board meetings and acquisition talks, a chance to feel like any other couple enjoying a Friday evening, yet destiny had other plans in store, plans that would expose arrogance, prejudice, and ultimately justice in a way that would ripple through the entire building. The Sterling Plaza itself was a wonder to behold, 40 stories of shimmering glass that reflected the skyline like a mirror, its lobby a cathedral of marble and chandeliers where streams of professionals, shoppers, and diners mingled every day, the rooftop restaurant, Elysium, considered one of the most exclusive dining spots in the Southeast, often frequented by celebrities, CEOs, and international dignitaries. And yet here came Marcus and Alana, walking hand in hand, dressed not in the polished armor of boardroom power suits but in casual clothes that spoke of comfort and simplicity, Marcus in dark jeans and a crisp white polo, Alana in sandals and a flowing dress patterned with blue and gold, their attire chosen intentionally because tonight they did not want to be Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, owners of Johnson Capital, they wanted to be Marcus and Alana, husband and wife, just another couple enjoying a night out. But as the revolving doors of the plaza spun lazily in the evening breeze, a figure loomed in front of them, tall, broad-shouldered, and brimming with the kind of arrogance that often comes when a small measure of power is placed in the hands of a man who mistakes authority for superiority. His name tag reading D. Miller, though the name itself mattered little compared to the sneer etched across his face, for Miller was not merely doing his job as a security guard, he was playing the role of gatekeeper, of self-appointed judge deciding who was worthy of stepping into the world behind those glass doors, and in Marcus and Alana he saw not success, not ownership, but targets, outsiders, intruders to be dismissed. "Hold it right there," Miller barked, his arm extending like a barrier as though the very air were his to control, his voice sharp, commanding, and laced with disdain. "This place isn't open to the public like that, you two need to move along," and the words landed with a sting, not because Marcus or Alana had not heard variations of them before but because they had heard them too many times, the bitter reminder that no matter how much they achieved, no matter what heights they climbed, there would always be those who saw only the color of their skin and not the weight of their accomplishments, and Alana, ever the calm one, blinked in surprise but kept her tone even, measured. "Excuse me? We have reservations at Elysium, the rooftop restaurant," but Miller gave a laugh so dry and mocking it could have cut glass, shaking his head slowly as if to toy with them. "Reservations? Come on now, don't try to play games with me. You think I don't know what kind of place this is? That spot isn't for, well, let's just say, not for people like you. This isn't some public diner. It's for professionals, executives, people who belong," and though his words danced carefully around outright racial slurs, the poison was unmistakable, the contempt dripping so thickly that a couple passing by paused to glance awkwardly at the scene, unsure whether to intervene or pretend not to notice, and Marcus felt the muscle in his jaw tighten, his calm demeanor a mask barely covering the storm rising within, because while he had endured insults, microaggressions, and outright prejudice many times in his life, there was something particularly infuriating about being treated like a trespasser at the very place he had poured millions of dollars into acquiring, the very building that sent paychecks to thousands of employees, including the one now blocking his path, and still he tried to keep his voice steady as he spoke. "Sir, you are mistaken. We have every right to be here," but Miller doubled down, his chest puffing, his smirk widening, emboldened by the perceived superiority of his uniform. "The only mistake here is you thinking you can bluff your way in. Now either you turn around and leave quietly, or I'll have to call the cops to escort you out." The audacity of the threat struck like a slap, the irony cutting deep. Here was a man threatening to summon law enforcement on the very people who held the deed to the ground he stood upon, and Alana's eyes narrowed, her voice now edged with ice. "You have no idea who you're speaking to. We belong here more than you ever will," but Miller merely snorted, dismissing her words with a wave of his hand. "Save it. I know your type, always trying to act like you're important. Well, not here, not tonight. Now get moving before I make a scene." And with that, the last threads of Marcus's restraint began to fray, because he could see in Miller's eyes not just arrogance but enjoyment, the thrill of humiliation, the small man's delight in flexing power over those he thought powerless. But what Miller did not know, what he could not possibly have fathomed, was that he was attempting to humiliate not the powerless but the powerful, not trespassers but sovereigns, not intruders but owners, and Marcus, finally done with the charade, stepped forward, his tall frame looming, his voice dropping to a calm so cold it froze the air. "You want to call the cops? Go ahead. But before you embarrass yourself any further, let me tell you something very clearly. We own this place," and those words, simple yet thunderous, hit Miller like a lightning strike, his smirk faltering, his brow furrowing in confusion as he barked out a nervous laugh. "What? What did you just say?" And Alana, fire now in her eyes, pulled her phone from her purse with swift precision, her manicured fingers flying over the screen before she turned it toward him, the glow of the display illuminating an article headline bold and undeniable: "Johnson Capital acquires majority stake in Sterling Plaza. New black ownership signals a new era of leadership." The photograph beneath showing Marcus and Alana in elegant attire shaking hands with the mayor at the acquisition ceremony only months earlier, and her voice, cool as sharpened steel, cut into the stunned silence. "We don't just have reservations. We don't just belong here. We run this building. Every paycheck in this place, including yours, comes from us," and the words shattered whatever delusion Miller had built for himself, the color draining from his face, his posture collapsing as though gravity itself had turned against him, and he stammered, his arrogance evaporating in an instant. I didn't know, I thought. Please, I didn't mean," but Marcus silenced him with a raised hand, his gaze sharp as a blade. "You meant every word. You meant to belittle us, to block us, to treat us like we had no place here. But the truth is, this is our place. And tonight, the only one who doesn't belong is you."